Hey, good morning. Rise and shine with Pastor Ken. I just want you to see this baby right here this morning. I was given this tomato by my buddy Steve. And hey, Charlotte, I'll bring this home to you. Yeah, you want something that'll cover a piece of bread. There's a tomato right there. Pastor Ken here. We're glad to come to you this morning. And we're at Mike Klein's. Oh, that's you.
Hey, good morning. How are
Hey.
you today?
I'm feeling good today. I'm
Good.
feeling good most days. I really do. Is this where you live?
This is where I live. It is. This is our humble abode here.
Your humble abode.
Yep. And I have some of my family here.
Introduce them.
Well, this is my brother Steve
Good morning.
and my grandson Kalen, Shara.
Good morning.
And we're here, and if you were able to see all around, there's material laying everywhere. We're replacing the roof on our house right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of prompted, I thought it would be good that we could maybe talk about expectations.
All right.
You know, an expectation is a belief that something's going to happen somewhere in the future. It's kind of like an assumption.
Yeah.
And I'll give you a little backstory. Last spring, not in the spring of 2021, but in the spring of 2020, we had a spot on our roof that needed replaced, and Denise and I thought that I would get material and patch this little spot. And when Steve came down and looked at it, he said, you know, did you consider putting metal over your roof?
Right.
It would be a lifetime job. And we talked about it, and we took the summer to decide and thought that was a good idea. And in the fall,
You must be a little slow if you took that long to decide.
well,
What
you
are you
know,
gonna say to that? He thinks it's funny.
I'm probably a little slow. Anyway, we kind of came to the conclusion in the fall that this would be a good idea. So Steve came down and we measured the roof, and we stalled a little. We really did. We were trying to make sure we had our financial house in order, and wanted to be able to do some other things, so we weren't rushed. And in the very late part of fall, Steve told me that the price of material was really on the increase. With, you know, we were on the halfway, 3/4 of the way through what we've experienced in the last 18 months, and thought it'd be a good idea that we ordered it.
Yeah.
So we ordered the material. It got delivered before the end of the year, and winter set in. And here my work changed. I still work at the same place, but I got a new job,
Uh-huh.
and it was really taxing. I was learning the job, and it was difficult. And then Steve and Kalen got busy, and we thought in the spring that we would take this endeavor and put the roof on. And I took vacation, and here their work was so busy they weren't able to do it.
Uh-huh.
If I recall, on a Wednesday night after church, wasn't it? Steve told me that they had a lot of work going on, so we took that week in May, Denise and I,
Yeah.
and we planted our gardens.
Okay.
And the fruit of that and God's timing is unbelievable. We've had the most bountiful crops of corn, sweet corn,
Yeah.
and the little patch of onions has provided onions that we've shared with a lot of people in the community, and 3 households have enough onions to do them into spring. The tomatoes are just unbelievable. The amount of tomatoes are coming off. We had green beans and yellow beans, and that week spent in the garden was such perfect timing on God's part. If we'd have put that roof on, the garden would have been planted sporadic, maybe not all that stuff, and we've been able to share a bountiful crop with a lot of people and put a lot of things up for winter in that timing. And I have to tell you, we had expectations at this house that the roof would be on.
Was it hot that week?
No, it was not hot.
So I wanted to make sure we did this when it wasn't hot, you know.
What did you call yesterday?
Cool. Wow.
But we had an expectation here that when the metal got here, our roof would get on. And things didn't work that way.
Yeah, that's true of life. It really is. We always have a plan and think we got everything figured out. But God, a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is like a day with the Lord. You know what I'm saying? And He's got a plan that's way bigger than ours.
He does.
You
He
know?
does. And when I've even at my age, every day I learn something new.
You're looking good for 82. You really
Thank
are.
you, thank you, thank you. But I learned something new, or I'm reminded of something, and this thing on expectations has been heavy on my mind because we had expectations. We had expectations to put it on in the early spring, to put it on in the late spring, and we laughed about the temperature, but Steve reminded me of spring. He said, you got to get that on before it gets hot. So I don't know what he knows about coming weather, but yesterday our little thermometer that has the probe out the back, it was up well in the 90s, so it must really going to get hot if he wanted to do it now.
You mean it's going to get hotter than this if you didn't want to put it on a hot?
I hope not.
I imagine that's like 150 degrees up there on the
I know it was
on the
bad.
roof. Yeah.
It was bad.
I mentioned yesterday we should talk to our friend Greg Kiefer about that because he's often mentioned about on a roof that they've taken temperatures, how much hotter it is than even on the ground.
Yeah. Well, expectations. God's timing is perfect. It really is. Many times when we're expecting things to happen, we're expecting it to happen just like that at our designated time. We got things all figured out, and that's a sign sometimes of how much we want to be in control, Mike.
It is.
Steve, it really is. Waylon, how much we want to be in control. We want to control everything, and when we get control oriented, we need to be brought under check about that sometimes. I have many, many times, and God says, I'm in control here. I'm in control here. You check my calendar, that type of thing. You know what I mean?
I do. When we want to be in control, then we're not surrendering to Jesus, to the King. We're in our. I'm the leader now. I'm in charge.
Yep.
But when we do as He has commanded us to surrender to Him and give it over and allow Him to do it. This timing, I marveled at it, that all these things that happened when I was expecting these guys to be here and us to be putting roof on, and these things that happened have benefited so many more people, and it's so much better than we ever dreamed.
That is fantastic.
But you're positive. Everything's positive. And if you look at it as negative, you could have, why didn't these guys do it and put me first? But you know what should be first.
Yeah, that's really great. If we're not really careful, our expectations can not only cause us problems, but they can kind of, we got this thing going on in our hearts sometimes where we expect other people to come up to our standard and adjust to our timetable. And God's dealing with us all individually. And, everything is true to this pattern. Nothing works out in life quite the way you have it planned. If there's a way for something to have a wrinkle in it, it'll have a wrinkle in it. And Charlotte's got this saying that I don't know where she got it, but she says this all the time. Excuse me. Blessed are the flexible, for they will not be bent out of shape.
That's awesome.
Blessed are the flexible, for they shall not be bent out of shape.
That's awesome.
Well, the enemy really loves it when things don't happen according to our expectations, and we get bent out of shape. He's chasing us, and he's shaking our chain. Then you know what I mean?
It is. And in the social world, it is not uncommon for people to withdraw and attack. They really do. When their expectations are not met, they'll withdraw and attack. And when we were young, people would send letters. And they would send a mean letter that I'm angry with you because they didn't have to talk face to face. Then there was a time that people sent emails. And that was pretty quick. But now it's this instant messaging, social media, and in a matter of moments, people can go from friends to enemies because someone didn't meet their expectation. They withdrew and attacked.
Well, what's the answer to that? I think really the truth is God's got a timetable. Many times we're tested uh, whether we're going to live in sour or we're going to live in sweet. And I don't know about you guys, but I've been on both sides of that. And I know when I live in sour, because things didn't work out my way, I don't only make myself miserable, but everybody else around me miserable too. And that's not a fun life. It really isn't. Just give it to God. And, He has the deed on the property anyway. Just give it to God and say, it's all in your hands, God. I'm just your servant. If things aren't working out in your little world the way that they should this morning, give it to God. Give it to God. If you have high expectations for your husband or for your health or for your wife or your family, and things aren't going the way that you think they should, ask the Lord to help you to be kind and patient and loving, and tender in your own heart, because I think that's a lesson that needs to be learned. It really is. So until we see you tonight, hey, with this motley crew right here, they're going to be on again tonight, all right? And we're going to talk, along the same lines. So, hey, together, boys, rise and shine.